Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring FrostLing in our bottom left corner playing the red Zerg, and in the bottom right we have Vivi playing our blue Protoss. Both players are Masters. We are on Condemned Ridge. I believe this is a ladder match. I'm sure it's a good match. You know, you're not good unless you're in Masters, right? No, I'm not in Masters. So you could still be good and not be in Masters, but these guys are good. I think that's a safe assumption. So Vivi looking like he's going to grab a Forge Fast Expand or maybe a 2-gate. Condemned Ridge is very helpful in the sense that you got an incredibly small choke leading down to the natural and a larger choke leading down into the common ground. I really like Condemned Ridge because of this aspect right here. Some people throw that little crevice there and it sucks because the surrounds are really chopped up by that, but with this you can actually get the drop on large armies moving off into the common area and get surrounded. Very friendly to Zerg. What's not so friendly to Zerg is the third being so exposed as it is. Kind of just really out there. It's impossible to wall it off, and it's also difficult to hold because there is no choke for you to take advantage of. Also, these walls right up here, this high ground, it's very easy to throw a pylon up there or some siege tanks or some Templars and just storm everything to Kingdom Come. Very obnoxious, as is a probe patrolling in your main. It looks like with enough money to make an expansion, FrostLing is going to be moving out, but Vivi one step ahead throws down a pylon. 3 drones out there right now beginning to peck at the pylon or the probe. It looks like the probe's actually moving over to deny the third also, which is basically the standard response to getting blocked in the natural. You grab a quick third and then eventually you just take down the pylon at your natural and take that expansion, no problem. A spawning pool is the appropriate secondary response to that, I guess. Get the spawning pool, get the gas, get the speed, and eventually take down the pylon. With the forge down already, Vivi has the added opportunity to throw down some photon cannons to continue the harass. It's not, the placement in the natural isn't far enough to get any probes, photon cannons on the high ground, but you can usually leapfrog your pylons with some protective photon cannons in the back and drop some up here and actually deny. And you could take down that spawning pool. You wouldn't be able to hit the hatchery, but you'd be able to deny some mining, I'm sure. Or just be a jerk. You could be a jerk with that too. So, 400 minerals for FrostLing. He really wants that expansion really badly, and it looks like with a photon cannon being dropped back by the mineral line, this is just designed to continue denying the expansion from FrostLing. With FrostLing having the spawning pool up, these 4 Zerglings could have taken down that pylon, no problem at all. But with the photon cannons going up, I don't think he's going to be able to take down the pylon before they finish. This one's getting in pretty low health, but with those Zerglings focusing down the other pylon, I think it's going to finish. He'll be able to take it down, but it'll be some severe losses, and he won't be able to take down the other one. So it looks like canceling the other pylon, and this photon cannon, even though it's wounded, does go up. FrostLing forced to take out the one in the third. Maybe he's looking to expand there, maybe not. It's for him to decide. Another Nexus, or a Nexus being dropped down by Vivi in the natural, expanding behind his very successful harassment, completing the wall off with a probably another gateway here. And this pylon, I don't believe this is airtight. It might be airtight. It looks like it's not airtight though. Yeah, it's not. He's positioning that probe right there on the north side. That's a really good mark, just to make sure your probe is on the outside of the wall off, and then try to get it in to make sure that an area that looks like it's not airtight isn't airtight. This place is. It looks like this gateway is going to finish first. He'll probably cancel that one and get a Cybernetics core unless he's looking to do some extra pressure, or maybe he's just looking to get that many gateways out early. 4 Zerglings going down for the price of 1 probe, and altogether loss for Vivi, but with the pylon that had to be dropped and the pylon up at the third that went down, I think the units lost tab is showing FrostLing a little bit ahead. What he's not ahead at is probe count, or harvester count, I guess, since we're also playing with a Zerg. Drones are pretty far behind the fact that Vivi's got his expansion up and running, and FrostLing has not grabbed his third. It looks like he's waiting to grab his natural first, building a spine crawler up on the high ground using creep tumors to extend the creep on the low. He'll be able to drop his spine somewhere in this area, poke at the pylon, and be very free from any of the photon cannons. And once they're destroyed, the handful of Zerglings, which I guess haven't been built yet, 8 more on the way for FrostLing. FrostLing floating a lot of minerals, but I'm sure once this infrastructure goes down, he'll be in a good shape to grab a quick 2 expos and get right back into this game. Double expos, very fast, very risky, but it's basically what he has to do in the face of such successful harassment. Also, a quick lair, the pylon does go down, so FrostLing's going to take out both photon cannons. Little scout from Vivi, I don't think he's going to be able to throw down any more pylons and photon cannon rush, but he will be able to scout. It looks like he's heading up to the 3rd on the minimap. Cybernetics core was indeed dropped for that gateway, totally standard there. Another photon cannon, just in case FrostLing gets in his mind to do a one base Baneling rush. With all the gas that Vivi has grabbed, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 assimilators already built. It looks like he's going to be sitting on a Twilight Council and a Robotics Bay. Robo Bay will be very helpful in getting out some early Immortals, maybe some Colossus. I've seen the Immortal pressure worked really, really well on this map. I was hoping for some air pressure, really, because with that many gas, you can definitely afford a lot of air units, and close by air matchups like this really favors Protoss when they get up that air. I actually casted a game on this map where it was some ridiculous airplay from them. Very cool. What's also cool is Vivi's got a probe up on this high ground that I was talking about. Got to be careful, though. It looks like the Zerglings are scouting for it. Maybe they won't think to check the high ground, but if he doesn't, we could see some proxy pylon shenanigans behind the mineral line, which would be a bad thing. With Warp Gate just now finishing up and the robotics play started, looks like Vivi is transitioning to a Colossus play. Still just the one Robo, and the Robo is building a Warp Prism. Wow, so even more destructive play out of Vivi. Going to be able to drop a bunch of units once the infrastructure goes up. Right now only one gateway, but I expect we're going to see a lot, and I mean a lot more gateways be built, and then those warp gates are going to be able to drop in a bunch of units. Still, FrostLing is trying to recover from the deficit right now. Harvester count almost 50 to 25. He's very much behind on that count, so he's got to be careful. And he's also got to tech very quickly a Nidus network already up, but this observer has scouted it, I believe. Yeah, he scouted it, so he knows what's up with that. That would be a really cool play, though, be able to drop a bunch of units in the enemy base, which is also what Vivi's going to try. This Warp Prism is preparing. It looks like he's patrolling right now, but he's preparing to drop somewhere in the base. I imagine it's going to be somewhere up here where there's no creep and no vision, though it looks like the observer is actually positioning down here where he could take out both gas and maybe that Baneling nest, which would also be very devastating. Grabbing that 3rd for FrostLing as he moves some Zerglings out to poke at the front door. Front door is totally secured. Extended thermal lances coming out for that one Colossus that is being built at a time. Probably we're going to get a second one up eventually, but it looks like with the Warp Prism out and the Proxy Probe, I think Vivi's going to be thinking about doing some heavy warp in play before he moves out. With just the one Robo facility, he's not going to be able to produce enough Colossus to control the wide open spaces that are, condemned ridge. I've got to keep an eye on that minimap because that Warp Prism is making me nervous, and I'm not even playing the game. I'm also really hoping that this Nidus Networks plays in, but right now FrostLing is just desperately trying to get his economy back up. Harvester count has equalized, and with the 3rd base just now beginning to get saturated, the drones are making their way in to build the extractors, and some are starting to long distance mine as that expansion starts. I don't think that this guy can see. Oh, there it goes. As soon as he spotted the 2 extractors being built, he built that pylon. Oh no, and the Warp Prism had made it into the base. Started off with 5 zealots. 5 zealots focusing down that Baneling nest. Not a huge loss because I don't think FrostLing was going to be able to use that with the Colossus and the wall off so strong in that base. But with these zealots getting surrounded, they go down. But then, wow, that pylon finishes at the exact same moment. There's no saturation here at this hatchery, but it would be a devastating loss for it to go down. It's what needs to happen. The 2 drones that were there mining immediately go to spine crawlers. The level 1 zealots against the 1-1 Zerglings, but I think there's just too many zealots. They're cutting down all of those Zerglings. It looks like all of them are going to go down, but another swell of Zerglings come in and another warp in from Vivi. These Zerglings are not, the Zealots do not succeed in taking down the hatchery, but with even more Zealots, it looks like 7 Zealots in the main, they take down 1 Queen almost instantly, and the Zerglings make it to the top ground. Oh, but look at that! 2 sentries being warped in on the ground, force fielding the ramp right there to keep those Zerglings occupied. Some Zealots go down into the natural to do even more harassment. Even more Zealots being warped into the main to focus down that lair. Oh, they're taking so much damage. Excellent positioning by Vivi, holding the ramp there. Look at just two Zealots holding the ramp there. Buys these Zealots enough time to take down this lair. Absolutely devastating. The Spire is done, which is a good play by FrostLing to get out some air harassment, but unfortunately the Mutalisks that pop out are instantly seen by those Zealots and the Warp Prism, and we can see that 3 Photon Cannons are already on the way. I've noticed that some Photon Cannons were already built, but I think that was because of the Nidus network. But now multiple Photon Cannons are being built down by the probe line to protect the probes. Zealots have made their way up into the front door, but they're not going to be successful at all at taking down this front door. Just poking to make sure that a Zealot was there just in case, but the Colossi count is 3 Colossi. Ridiculous amount of stalkers out on the field already. Several sentries have been out for the majority of the game. Let me touch you. Let me touch the sentry. Thank you. 5 sentries out right now, all with pretty much max energy. So their force fields are going to be unstoppable. And with this being the only unit composition that FrostLing can field, because that Baneling Nest went down, he's still got the spawning pool, but the hatchery and lair went down. FrostLing is really in bad shape. Economy-wise, he's not in the worst in the world. You know, they're pretty much neck and neck because it's 2 base on 2 base. But Vivi has not taken any damage at all, except for the units that he spent in the main base doing that harassment, doing that ridiculous damage. So Vivi has succeeded in teching along the pathway that he really wants to tech. He's got 2. He's got almost 3 weapons coming out. Blink coming for the Stalkers that will absolutely decimate the Mutalisks, which are continually being produced by FrostLing, but they're not going to be successful at all. Even more Photon Cannons being built. Those Mutas, even though they're bundled up on the left side of the base, are not going to be able to break down this front door, and even if they do, the damage that they incur is going to be secondary to the loss that FrostLing is going to suffer by losing the majority of his force. He is supply blocking Vivi right now, but it looks like Vivi doesn't care. He's pushing out right now. No proxy pylons to speak of. FrostLing is grabbing a 4th in the top left corner, but Zerglings are going to get chewed to pieces by the Archons and Colossi, and the Mutalisks are going to be eaten by the +2 Stalkers. So this is looking really grim for FrostLing. It looks like the Zerglings are engaging without the support of the Mutas. The Mutas swinging in from the left side, engaging mostly the sentries, but a quick blink from the Stalkers bring them within range of the Mutas, and so many of them go down. Units lost tab is actually what I wanted to look at, and I think that's what FrostLing is paying attention to too, is that he's done. Oh man, Vivi, that was phenomenal. Kudos to you for that clutch hold with the 2 Zealots right here, buying enough time for the Zealots down to take out the lair, and then the brilliant play of warping in 2 sentries that have just enough energy at the start to drop down 2 force fields to block off the ramp completely. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm so happy I watched this. I'm so happy you watched this, because you guys are awesome. And if you guys have a comment, you could post a comment here or on Reddit. If you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Big and Scary. Bye.